Hey, I'm Ryan Holmes, and this is Untold Santa Cruz, Shelter in Peace. There seems to be a lot in life that is beyond our control, and when we focus on that, it even seems to expand. It's through stories of perseverance, great spirit, and contribution that we learn how to be and who we can be in trying times and everyday moments. Untold Santa Cruz is a podcast about good people doing good work in a good place. It could be anywhere. It just happens to be here. My next guest owns a local business with a simple mission: to make you the hero. He studied philosophy and religion at Stanford University and has run Soul Space for 20 years. It's an award-winning web development company. I always learn from my conversations with him. I consider him a world-class listener and a great friend. Please welcome Mitchell Kimbrough. Hey, Mitchell.
Hey, Ryan.
Thanks for sitting down with Untold Santa Cruz Shelter in Peace today.
Thanks for setting up a podcast. It's such a great idea, such a great concept for our town.
Well, thanks, man. You and I know each other from our parking lot chats after dropping kiddos off, which has always been really fun. And I've been, I'll say, philosophically fascinated with what you do in terms of your business. You know, hearing you, talk about the concepts, and it just hit me how dang important web reliability is. It sounds a little bit boring on the outside, but there's nothing like a global pandemic to make everyone realize how key it is.
Yeah. When the pandemic first got started up and started to hit the U.S., it feels like it hit California before it hit some other parts of the country. Certainly it landed in Seattle before anywhere else in that nursing home. Yeah. And then I think our governor took it seriously really early on and started sounding the alarms and actually started laying down some guidelines and basically laying down the law. Yeah. All right, I want you all to shelter in place. I want social distancing. We need to flatten the curve. So we started to hear that really early on.
Right.
And when that kicked in, that made it real for me. I run a company that has about 15 people on the team. We're all virtual. We're all distributed. We always have been for 20 years. It's been that way. And we were looking around at each other asking, okay, well, this is going to demolish the economy. Right. If people can't go to restaurants and can't go to events, okay, that's going to be super terrible. It's going to be worse than pretty much any economic impact we've lived through and possibly even had in our history as a country. Right. What's going to happen? Specifically, what's going to happen to our business, which means what's going to happen to our clients, our existing clients and people who use us. And we were having conversations about, it can go one of two ways. Business can totally die, or we can be slammed. And it's a little unclear which one it's going to be at the time. And it's starting to look like one as opposed to the other. There's a few clients of ours who have to really pull the plug. They don't have revenue coming in and they got to pull the plug. They even have to pull the plug on web development. Those are clients who have really extensive web properties that we've helped them build up over a number of years. They're already up and running and they're already pretty solid and pretty reliable. They just need to dial back the spend on that. Other clients who have always leaned heavily on their digital properties to generate incoming leads or to generate e-commerce sales, whether it's a consulting firm or some sort of B2B firm or whatever the case may be, they already relied on those properties and they have a team in their back pocket, mine, who can help, and they are either not changing any of their business activity or they're dialing things up. Okay. Then there's a third sort of a client profile, which are like me, the procrastinators. I really should get that. I really should get the oil changed in my car. I mean, it's going to be bad one of these days if I don't change the oil. Those road tires ought to be rotated. I got a really urgent problem I got to deal with today. Right. Maybe I'll get to the tires tomorrow. Well, now the urgency of you having your e-commerce store up and running, it's on now. So my team is reaching out to local businesses in their respective areas saying, look, I don't know how you're going to pay for it. I don't even care. What's important right now is that we want to reach out and help our local communities and get you up and running.
Right.
So we're basically saying, well, what's going to happen? Well, the thing that's going to happen is we're going to actually take action and create what's going to happen. And what's going to happen is we're going to help these businesses get online in whatever way that makes sense to them. Like take Petroglyph, downtown Santa Cruz.
Right.
They have a number of locations around California, and they can accept online gift cards, like you can buy a gift card, but they're going to try to set up kits that you can order online. Go pick them up at the curb at a table, maintain social distancing, take them home to your kids, do the Petroglyph thing at home, bring them back, have them fire them, come pick them up again. Why not? Why can't we do that? You need a conduit, an online presence to make that happen. So there's a lot of need for that.
That one particularly hit home when you said that. I thought, oh gosh, how are the small, relatively small businesses like Petroglyph going to survive? You can't go in and do what you've always done. And then it doubly hit me how important that kind of activity is, the Petroglyph activity, just getting lost in a project for a while and having, the worry and the concerns go away. So the idea of you helping, your company helping these local institutions continue doing the good work they've always done is just so uplifting right now. I guess that's what you meant. I read your recent blog post. This is our Dunkirk moment for web developers, and that it just lifts my heart to see the traction that article's getting with people coming to help.
Yeah, this is. I was telling a client that we were on a consulting call with right before this that. One of the terrible things about this pandemic is that it's global, and it was instantaneously global.
Yeah.
I mean, we're separated by a few weeks from China's pathway and from South Korea and so forth. But we're all basically, it's hitting us all at the very same time.
Yeah.
And that's actually a gift, because no one has to feel alone in this. No business owner can sit there and say, oh, man, my business is going to tank, and I'm the only one who's suffering, and I'm the only one getting hit with a hammer. Nope. Everybody is getting demolished right now. So true. So what happens when everyone is hit by the same mallet? It's like it's liberating. It's so radical and so absurd. You just have to start laughing, and then once you're laughing, you're like, okay, this is ridiculous. And by the way, I have some ideas for how to move forward. I think sitting around and wallowing in how I'm all alone in this is actually not the answer. Let's reach out and help others, and let's reach out and try to find a need that we can help to serve. Absolutely. So I'm seeing so many business owners feeling that way and saying, and I'm repeating this to all my clients, and this is a phrase that I think is really, really valuable right now. Never squander a crisis.
Yeah, in the good way, they're not the political way we've been hearing.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't it like, so there's a political, there's like a greedy, money grubbing dude version of it. Oh, all these people are suffering, I'm going to gouge for toilet paper. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, the good people out there have a good version of never squander a crisis. Yeah. It means take this opportunity to hug your family. Yeah. To go out in the backyard, clean up the garden, clean up your business garden. Get those things done that you intended to do all this time. Sort out your digital marketing plan. Pay attention to that. You have to now. You only exist virtually online now. So now get real about that. And take advantage of all the goodwill out there of people in my profession who are like, I don't know how we're going to get paid. I kind of don't care right now. I just want to make sure these businesses that I love in my own town survive, and that my clients who've been clients for years survive. So what can we do to help? That's what we're looking for. So the Dunkirk article is me saying, isn't this a lot like that time in World War II when almost the entire British army was going to be demolished and surrendered to the Germans? And these fishermen and yachtsmen and merchant mariners get their little dinghies and their boats, and they go across the channel, and they pick up some soldiers, and they come back, and they basically all showed up together to help a cause, but bringing their expertise and their abilities into the equation to say, we're going to get through this together. And by the way, I'm a really good boatsman. I'm going to get you across the channel. Come on in, right? That's the idea with web developers these days. Web marketers are like, hey, by the way, we've always been here ready to help you. And we have this, we feel compelled to help. And here we are. Just give us the opportunity to help you.
Yeah. That's beautiful. It's interesting how it took a radical shift from normal for us to kind of realize new opportunity and new possibility. It's like, well, we can't do what we've always done. And somehow that's a gift. I mean, if you choose to look at it that way, it's kind of futile to look at it any other way, but it's also difficult, right? Because there's fear and worry. How are you staying so focused on the positive side of this? I know you're a dad and a husband, and you've got a family to think about. But I'm looking at the work you're doing right now, and it's perfect for this moment.
I've been preparing for this moment for my whole life, and what I mean is, take the mortgage meltdown crisis that we had in 2008, 2009, 10 timeframe. You remember that one?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you have a podcast. I have a podcast as well. I'm not trying to plug it. All I'm trying to say is, as soon as this pandemic hit and it looked like it was going to eat up the economy, I tried to set up a quick snap podcast with some of my business colleagues, people in my industry, where we could get on, people who I know had been doing this for 20 years, just like me. And I wanted to say, you guys remember the .com bubble? You guys remember the mortgage meltdown? You guys remember 9/11? You guys remember Hurricane Katrina? All these, huge disasters that hit our economy and our people. We've been through this before.
Right.
And everybody on that podcast was like, yep, been through this before, seen this before. I know what not to do this time. And
Great.
so when I say I've been preparing for this my whole life, I know what not to do this time.
Mm-hmm.
What the thing not to do is to indulge my predilection for obsessive worry, for spinning my wheels, for repeating a tape in my head over and over again of this is disaster. I'm going to be homeless. My family's not going to have a place to live. Imagining the worst case scenario, obsessing about myself. That was not the way to do it back in 2008. That was not the solution. It didn't get me anywhere. The thing to do is to think about others, focus on others. What can I do to take action to help others? What kind of forward steps, steady progress can I make to help other people? What things can I do specifically that I know how to do to help others? Think about, the Olsons who they provide school lunches to different private schools in the area. And of course, their business is going to dry up because there's no school, there's no lunches.
Not in school, yeah.
They're delivering dinners now, right?
That's great.
So they're using their capabilities, their infrastructure, their expertise, their ability to make food at the industrial kitchen level.
Yeah.
And instead, they're making it possible for families to come once or twice a week and pick up dinner.
Yeah.
And social distancing is observed. All the sanitization requirements are being met. You come and you get. So they needed to look at how they could help others in their need in order to help themselves. That's what I'm talking about. Don't focus on you, focus on the customer. You should always think that thought as a sales and marketing principle. Always worry about your customer. The money will come later in a later stage. Don't worry about you and your bank account. Worry about your customer's pain, and then you can help.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing. You'll know who it is because we always talk about this kind of thing. You succeed in proportion to the number of people you're willing to help. Something to that effect.
I don't know who that quote is attributed to, but I've heard that before. That's right.
Yeah. You said something that struck me as perfect for this moment. You said it takes forever to be quick. And it strikes me that we can leverage this preparation that you and your colleagues all around the world, actually, with web development. I mean, it's a common language that we all need right now. We can leverage the language you speak and the things you build to help our businesses be quick. And what's funny is you also said in an article that you haven't put a lot of energy into marketing and positioning with your business. And it strikes me as, well, a lot of people need to know about this right now because they may not even know enough to know that they can pivot quickly in this moment. How are you getting the word out? And is this forcing you to market a little bit for the sake of helping others?
Yeah, I still don't have a good answer to this marketing question. Really, one of the best channels right now would be social media channels. And this is one of those, I joked about me being among the procrastinators.
Yeah.
I have not invested in developing an audience on Facebook or on Twitter or Instagram or any of those other social channels. That's the place to be right now for someone like me trying to get the word out that I have a way to help and a willingness to help. So that would be one of the things to do. I'm probably still not going to indulge in that because I find it's more at the marketing and sales level. It's more authentic to put time into my writing and put time into the podcast work and put time into the creation of valuable content that's useful, whether someone hires my firm or not. So getting the word out about what what website owners should be thinking about and should be focused on at all times, not just right now, but at all times. I think that's the thing I can do. I trust Google to surface me to someone whom it's appropriate, right?
Yeah.
So with respect to that, maybe getting onto some social channels would make sense and get the word out. I don't have a good answer, and I still am working on that question, but I can tell you that one of the things to be looking for, any of these businesses who do not have an online presence and are thinking they need to get that done now, what they're experiencing right now is a problem in web development that I talk about as friction or resistance. So the objective of a website is to be a revenue-generating property. Its job is to be a pipeline through which money flows. And it's not so much money that you want to flow, it's actually customer desire. It's the need of the customer that you want to flow with the minimum amount of resistance. My kids desire to have some quiet painting time. They want to paint one of those petroglyph, elephants or teacups or whatever. They need that. They want that. That's the customer desire. They cannot fulfill that desire right now because there's not the kits aren't yet online. Mm-hmm. So that's what I call a web reliability problem, and it's a problem of friction resistance. You, as a business, you need to clear the way at the digital property level. You need to clear the way so that your customer's desire can be fulfilled through that web property. You need to get everything out of their way so that they can have that desire fulfilled. The side effect of that is that the money flows. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I think about the web properties that we manage for our clients. It's not just e-commerce. It's also consulting firms who are generating leads through their websites, through the contact forms and the lead gen forms and so forth. It's all about the flow of the customer desire through that system. So when you mentioned web reliability a minute ago, that's how we think about our job at SoulSpace is to make a website reliable. It's a reliable source of the flow of revenue and desire of customers. Right.
Yeah, the money is a lag measure, right, for
Absolutely.
The lead measure, which is having conversations with people about how to help and helping, as we're seeing right now, is looking to the future and saying, well, what could happen? How could we be ready? What feels like a plan B for these kits to a petroglyph, we'll want it to be a plan A or a plan A and a half soon, right? I mean, hindsight's 20/20, but boy, there's people all over the world that would probably love to have a little kit like that, even not in a global pandemic.
Yeah. That's the other thing is these businesses are, never squander a crisis. But the corollary of that phrase, that thought is, as a business person, you and I both know from years of experience that every time you're sitting and looking at a problem, it's an opportunity that's just wrapped up.
Yeah.
It's just got a covering over it. It's like a delicious orange. You got to peel the skin off, and then you get the fruit inside. Right. The peel is the problem, but the opportunity is that delicious fruit on the inside. So when we get our mindset correct right now in this moment of crisis, and we think about, okay, I'm sitting right in the middle of a terrible problem, always realize that there's an opportunity wrapped inside that problem. Keep your mindset positive, and you'll start seeing those opportunities, and you'll see ways to reshape your business or add things on to your business that will be permanent additions. Mm-hmm. So you have there's a fire lit under you, and now you really have to figure out how to generate some revenue online.
Right.
That's not just going to go away because the pandemic went away. You're going to keep those revenue streams, and they might become your business. Like that might be it.
Yeah. And that might, I mean, it's a possibility thinking, right? That extra income or that main source of income can then create a new freedom for something else to happen if you keep looking for the next possibility.
That's right.
I was thinking about this in terms of nature. When there's a fire or a landslide, that's a new possibility. The normal is gone, and fresh things spring up if we're willing to look for them.
That's right. Absolutely.
Seems like,
that's another good way to think about it. There's so many good metaphors out there for how to frame this moment that we're in. And, you are your choices. And some of the choices are the choices of what you think about.
Right.
And this is a lesson that the 2008 crisis taught me. I chose to think obsessive worry thoughts. I chose to think disaster thoughts. I didn't choose to think, oh, man, we're in a lot of trouble. I'm not sure how this company's going to. I didn't choose to think about how can I help people who are feeling just as terrified as I am? What can I do to go out and help? I chose the wrong thoughts. Right now is a moment when you need to choose the right thoughts. The last 3 podcast episodes I've released have all been in the spirit of, let's get positive vibes out there. Let me teach people who have not necessarily experienced a crisis like this before how to get through it. Let me remind people of the history of the human race and how we, on balance, if you graft it, we adapt and overcome to situations like this. Absolutely, and we even thrive in it. I know a lot of people remember going through 9/11, and especially New Yorkers remember an overwhelming sense of goodwill. And I've seen that out on the streets when we're walking the dogs or getting some exercise with the kids. Everybody's waving. We're staying our distance and we're waving and smiling, almost as like a duty to share this message that, we're neighbors now more than ever. Are you seeing that as well? Yeah. So someone on my team, we were on this call that we were on before this, Eva was saying she lives in an intentional community in Massachusetts, and that's, okay. It's houses grouped together, sharing common space, and just basically agreeing to be neighbors and to be a community and to kind of be an extended family with one another and help one another raise their kids and make food and stuff. Yeah. And she said, twice a day, everybody goes out in their front yard and they chat it up. Every afternoon we do a yoga session together online as a community. And she was making the point, we're going to miss this. We're going to miss this moment. Yeah. We're going to be sorry. We're going to be sad when this passes, because right now we're so united and so together, and propping each other up and helping each other. And our lives are a little bit slower and a little bit more quiet in some ways. And we're going to miss this moment. Going back to normal is going to be, I'm going to love being able to grab you and hug you in the morning. But I am going to miss this time when we were all, we all shared a common enemy, and that brought us together as a community. Absolutely. It reminds me of, Mr. Rogers and his mom. That you have a choice in the tough moments, in these difficult moments. You can focus on the scary, right? The fearful images and thoughts, or you can just look for all the helpers. And right now I feel like we're all helpers. We're all pulling together, and that is, it's so rewarding. Yeah. There are some people who are huddling though. Yeah, absolutely. We've made an effort in my household to reach out. Just think about a given month. Like, what's an average month? Which restaurants do we go to in that month? Yeah. Which stores do we go to? What things do we do with some frequency, with some regularity? How can we engage those same businesses in some way? How can we keep the money flowing to those same businesses? Reached out to a couple of restaurants that we go to on a regular basis, and in some cases, we're just hearing voicemails. We're going to just be shut down. We're done. We're just going to close it down. We've decided to go out of business. Or another version is, when everything's safe to come back out again, we'll reopen the doors. Right. And when I hear that, I'm like, okay, well, maybe you have the money to survive this, and you're just going to Netflix and chill. That's cool. But I have a feeling a lot of those people are not engaging in the right mindset. I have a feeling a lot of those people are thinking, well, there's nothing I can do. I can't open my doors and get customers into my restaurant. It's over. Nope, not true. Go back in there, start taking some orders, allow me to pick it up on the curbside. You'll make a fraction of your usual money, but you will be making money and you'll keep developing goodwill with your existing customer base, right?
Yeah.
So I want to find some way to reach out to those people who are choosing the wrong thoughts right now, choosing the wrong mindset, and try to tell them, look, I've been through this a bunch of times, and I can tell you standing still or sitting on the couch is not the answer.
Right.
Getting up and helping others and taking forward steps, that's the way to survive this right now.
Yeah. I know I'm really appreciative because I'm the kind of person that's always scanning for the danger, and it's something I've become aware of largely through my conversations with you. And you're always kind of helping me see, like, look, you can focus on that, but you can't control it. But what you can control are your thoughts and your responses to these events. And kind of that's what I hear you saying right now is, what can I do? And, not just as the business owner, what can I do to stay engaged and having some income, but also just as citizens, who can I support? Who can I help? As, a gift to that business, but also to ourselves. It feels good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a way. I've been trying to remind the girls to do this. I've been trying to remind them, doing something good for someone else right now, taking action, whether it's getting on a Zoom call with them or FaceTime or sending them a letter or sending them an email, doing an actionable thing for someone else is a way to make yourself feel really good and keep your spirits up. I'm trying to teach them that. And that's one of the things we need to be thinking about right now. And a lot of what you're describing is derived directly from Stoic philosophy. And this is a time where my background as a philosopher by training is useful. It's not just, I wonder what that old guy talked about and what about this other guy? Did they argue? No, this is some of these philosophies, some of these old ways of thinking that are thousands of years old, they matter and they're useful and they're efficacious right now.
Yeah.
In Stoic thought, they think what you just said. They basically say, how much of this can you control? Well, okay, well, that portion that you can control, do something about it. Don't sit and worry about it. Do something. Those things that you cannot control, let go. Now, this is also aligned with Buddhist thought. That the Dalai Lama says almost exactly what I just said. Those two have a kinship. And the idea is, well, can't make the virus go away any faster other than what I'm doing. What can I do? What can I think about? Those dark thoughts aren't going to serve me and they're not going to make anything change. What thoughts can I be thinking? Does that mean you're in denial and you're pushing away the feelings and the thoughts that you really should be having? Probably not. I mean, most people are normal at an emotional level. And if they need to have a bad day and they need to curl up in a ball, okay, you can indulge in one of those. Tomorrow, show up, reach out, and help somebody else.
Yeah. It seems like we're developing a lot of patience for people's emotions right now because we're all going through so much too. I wonder if empathy is one of the gifts that we'll get out of this because, prior to this, we all had a side, we were divided, we were all pretty convinced that we were right and the other was wrong. And that that wasn't very fun.
Yeah, that's right. That's the power of having a common enemy. I mean, imagine if instead of a virus, the global threat was space aliens who were malicious, Well, that would be a common enemy and we would all rally.
We would.
We would even make friends with the other side politically because we would have that common enemy and have a common project. We have that common project and we have that common enemy right now. The extent to which we can still engage in political bickering, in some ways, is just a signal that this thing is not as bad as it could be.
Right.
This could be much worse. When this first hit, you and I when we could still have our kids at school, we talked a couple times, and you said, "So, what do you think about this COVID-19 thing? What do you think's going to happen?" And I was like, "I don't really know. It doesn't sound like much to me." I was ignorant at the time. But one of the first things we talked about was, statistically, it's not looking like it's killing everybody. It's looking like it targets people with immune system issues, and it targets the aged, and maybe another couple of subsets. The time that this is really going to be, we're basically practicing. This is a rehearsal for the big one. This is not the big earthquake. This is a smaller earthquake getting us ready for the time when the death rate is much higher and the contagion rate is much faster and much more prominent. And we're even less prepared because we're even more politically dysfunctional. There's going to be a bigger one of these. That's the first thing I told the girls. Girls, this is bad and inconvenient, but there's going to be a bigger one in your lifetime of this problem.
Boy, that's such a heavy conversation. But if you don't learn the lessons from the moment you're in, my mom used to say this. She said, sometimes the universe knocks on your door. And, the thing to do when the universe knocks on your door is to answer it, and to answer it egerly, and to, be curious about what's there and to notice. If you resist that knock, it starts banging harder, but it's a tough sell, right? Because similar to your web reliability, it's like selling life insurance. It's like selling a way of thinking or a way of, conducting your web business that hopes for something not to happen, but is prepared for it if it does. How do you sell that? It's the important but not urgent in, Stephen Covey's time, or I guess that's actually the Ford matrix, but Stephen Covey uses it. How do you stay with that line when there's so much distraction and so many shiny objects that are coming at you?
Yeah, there's only, back to some Stoic thoughts and some Buddhist thoughts, there's only so much I can do to influence other people.
Yeah.
There's, if I get a client reach out to me, a prospective client reach out and say, hey man, we've been procrastinating for years. I really should have gotten this online store up and running a long time ago. How fast do you think we can do it? And we walk them through what's involved and how quickly it can be done, or how you might want to integrate with some other systems, a payment gateway, inventory system, POS, whatever the case may be. Explain how long it could take. They're ready then, but sometimes I don't hear from them the next day or the day after that. There's only so much I can do to help guide someone in the right direction. There's only so much I can do to help someone combine attention to the urgent with attention to the important.
Right.
That's a personal development skill that I cannot necessarily ingrain in someone who obviously needs it. The best I can do is model it. So that's what I've been doing with my clients lately. I've been trying to model the right mindset and the right way to be right now based on what I've earned it the hard way. I didn't go to school for this. I've actually lived through a number of these crises and tried to guide a business through problems like this before. And so the best I can do is what I do as a parent, just try to model the right way to be as far as I know it to be, and hope that some of those people come along and say, yeah, okay, you're right. It is time to focus on the important. I'll deal with the urgent, but I need to make sure I take a little chip out of the important today.
Yeah. Yeah. Being a model is so interesting to me, because I think that was my original, and still is my vision for podcasts. Telling isn't selling, right? If I never wanted to just tell people what I thought was right, because gosh, I'm always fearful that I'm wrong, first of all.
Yeah.
But, we're so easy. It's so easy to have, heroes in our minds, and oftentimes they're movie stars or famous people. But to me, the heroes are these archetypes of people that I can imagine being, or I can relate to, doing things with the proper mindset in a moment, and being brave, and being, coming from contribution to others. And it's just inspiring to hear you conducting your business that way, and in this moment having such a valuable service. So thank you. Thanks for being a good friend and a good neighbor.
Well, thanks for getting this podcast going. This is something that the community really needs. You're making an effort to tell some of the untold stories out there in our community, in our town, and bring out some of the richness that we don't all necessarily see. We kind of have the ruts that we occupy when we engage in our community. Like, I drive down this road every afternoon at 3 to pick up the kids from school, and then I drive back on this road, and we stop over here at this restaurant. And there's some other stuff going on in this town that's untold. It's a rich, deep place, and I think your podcast is making an effort to expose some of that and get us to appreciate. We already love where we live, but there's much, much more still going on here that you ought to know about.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so important to have role models that we can relate to, and I think there are a lot of you out there. So I just appreciate your friendship and the work you're doing for the petroglyphs and whatever other businesses out there that can pivot in this moment and see the possibility.
Right on.
Yeah.
So you can't surf right now?
No, can't surf right now. It's funny.
Down the beaches.
Yeah. It's interesting because, I have some friends that have been surfing, and I've looked at it a few times, and I've seen how many people are out there, and I just think, gosh, this is a good time to model doing the right thing, in my opinion. And, people are having debates about how important social distancing is. I'm just not engaged in it. But there's a blessing. I always think of this in terms of poetry. Like, if you asked me to write a poem, I could not do that. That is frightening, right? Putting, with all possibilities available, putting a coherent thought down in a poem. But if you ask me to write a haiku and give me some real limited parameters, I can have a lot of fun with that. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what's happening in life right now, is the parameters are vastly limited. Yeah. But boy, having a lot of fun with the family, seeing some places where I was stuck. And I think a lot of us are doing that. And it's actually got me feeling pretty hopeful. Yeah,
these constraints ignite creativity.
Yeah.
And that I'm seeing a lot of that, definitely. And again, that's all in the spirit of forward motion.
Yeah.
A positive thought instead of a negative thought.
Yeah.
Taking these constraints and turning them into something. Unwrapping the opportunity inside that problem. So these constraints, you can't go surf. So now what? You can finish shaping that board you'd intended to finish, or whatever the case may be. Like, you can still engage with that part of your life, but in a different way that you would have never been triggered to do had it not been for these set of constraints.
Right. Yeah, it forces you to be present, because all your normal routes and habits and things you did, are not really available. And it's a gift, I guess, if you look at it that way. Yeah. Hey, anything else, Mitchell, that you're working on or wanted to say, or any ways that these small businesses that don't even know what they're going to do, can they contact you and consult? Or
I'm always happy to have a conversation or several about the problem of, again, what I call web reliability. What I describe as getting that website to be a reliable revenue generator. Mm-hmm. I'll be happy to talk at liberty with anybody who needs it. My company specializes in a very specific platform. It's called Craft CMS, and that's a platform that's a content management system, and you can include e-commerce in that as well. Cool. People use that to do pretty complicated websites, so they hire my firm to do pretty elaborate, intricate integrations with other systems and stuff.
Sure.
But that just means that we have that mastery of that deeper, more complicated level, which implies that we also understand the easier stuff, like the Shopifys and the Squarespaces, right? So any local business, please reach out and get in touch, and I'll be happy to help. You can find me on solspace.com, SOLSPACE.com, and I'm Mitchell at solspace.com, MITCHELL. Send me an email, we'll get on the phone, and we'll chat it up and help you try to get through the problem, whether it's my firm or somebody else that I know in the town who can help you get through this issue.
That's great. I always feel better after I talk to you, so thanks for sitting down. And
me too. I feel the same.
And thanks for telling me you're wearing pants as well.
Yeah, I can't prove it on a podcast, but hopefully you guys will just trust me on that.
I'll take your word for it. Great. Well, let's chat soon, okay?
Right on. Thanks, Ryan.
That's the show for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you know somebody that might enjoy it also, please consider sharing it. And if you know somebody with a story that simply must be told, I'd love to meet them. You can email me at untoldsantacruz@gmail.com. It's day 25 of the shelter in place, and I hope you are finding some peace.